everybody, I'm Phil Fatica. Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. It's great to see you. Speaking of great, we have two great guests for you today. They are from Destination Erie. I know you've heard of that, and today we have the answers to all your questions. But first, let me introduce you. Sitting in the middle, on the right, would be Anna Franz. She is the director, and Ben Pratt. He is the assistant director? How are we going to classify
Project coordinator.
Project coordinator. And they are here today to tell you about something I know you've all heard about, as I just said, Destination Erie. So, Destination Erie, Anna, is?
Thank you so much, Phil. So Destination Erie is a community-driven process to develop a strategy for the future of the Erie County region so that we become a more successful, sustainable, and resilient region for the future.
It's a plan for the future.
Exactly.
How did this begin? What was the genesis of this?
Sure. So several years ago, funding was available from the federal government, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, to put together a regional plan. And the chamber, of which Ben is an employee, partnered with a number of organizations, including the Erie County government, the Jefferson Educational Society, the city, to put together an application for funding for this process.
So you got the money, I think it was about $1.8 million.
That's correct.
And so that was the seed money that says, okay, now what do? We have the money, so we got to put things in place. What are we going to study, Ben?
Well, we have 6 major categories that we focused on. One was community engagement, was trying to figure out a strategic way to really amplify the voice of the citizens of the community to get involved in this public process. The transportation and infrastructure, environment, economy and workforce, and community facilities also was a feature, which is composed of educational facilities and hospitals and public amenities. So.
A lot of groundwork was done, a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
A lot of, and I have it right here, a lot of producing exactly what the results were. And this would be available to the public by going to your website?
That's correct, planerieregion.com.
Planerieregion.com. And you two can have what I'm holding up right here. It spells it out very succinctly. So, we got the idea where we're going. The arrow's kind of pointing that way and this way and this way. What next? What's the next thing for you two that will command 83 hours a week with no sleep?
So the immediate next steps is that we have a set of draft recommendations that we brought out to the public in November at numerous meetings of which you participated. And since then we've been incorporating all of the public comment and feedback that we got, and that was wonderful, wonderful commentary that we received on those draft recommendations.
I want people to know that absolutely they are invited to participate in this process. They don't want anybody to say, or you don't want anybody to think they were shut out. So let's run down the list. The first thing that you put up was economic growth and job development, key to where anybody lives, key. In fact, coming out recently is a study that said we ain't doing too well in that area, and that kind of was a real, I think that hurt. I'm not sure where they're getting their data from, but be that as it may, economic growth and job development, either one of you, go ahead. You got 5 days to discuss that.
Sure. Well, we had I think the recent study has highlighted something that we've known for a long time, and I think what was very progressive or different about our community is that we've been working already to combat it. And Destination Erie has really worked with not only the private sector, but all of the workforce economic development service providers and other community organizations that are actively pursuing new ways to not only educate and train the citizens of the community, but connect them to well-paying jobs that are some already available and are going to be created in the future. So we have some great projects and opportunities that Destination Erie has brought to surface through the collaboration of all the different partners that have worked hard on this. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Second thing is what you've been touched on, education and training. That would be yours. And what does that mean?
So as part of this process, education is such an all-encompassing term.
Sure
so we've looked at early education. There's a recommendation to increase access to quality early care, such as pre-kindergarten, all the way up through fostering connections between the amazing colleges and universities we have in town and the business community, to try to provide students better exposure to career opportunities, so that kids coming out of school kind of have an eye on the surprise what they're in there for, what they're trying to get out of that education.
Safe to say that this is not a 2 or 3 month or a year or two project here. We're looking at how far out.
So it's a 25-year strategy. It's very long term, right?
Very long term.
But the idea is to identify things that we can do in the very immediate term, short term, next year or two, and then the longer term recommendations.
Okay. I like this next one because this is in the news a great deal about everything happening in our community that's not good, and that would be the vibrant, safe communities. And I think we're all on board with this one. So either one of you, Ben, we can come back to you. How would you define that, a vibrant, safe community?
You know, we always are looking to figure out better environments for our children and our family to thrive in, and there are a number of different ways that we're looking at trying to approach it. A vibrant and safe community is not only evaluating the transportation options that are available to you and your family, but also what programs are available to occupy everyone's time and energy towards a development of a brighter future. And we're looking at ways to address housing opportunities that are currently somewhat restrictive in that growth, and I think a lot of great partners have come up with some different innovative ideas that haven't really been introduced before. This conversation helped.
Professor Deming said the quality assurance guys, if you want what you've got, continue to do what you've always done because nothing will change.
That's right.
Yeah, and so you get stuck in that loop.
Exactly.
One of the points under that fortifying neighborhoods would be you have groups of people, no matter where you live, neighborhood watch councils. And were they involved in this process?
There have been participation from neighborhood watch groups, also from there's a new organization called the Neighborhood Resource Organization, which is striving to strengthen neighborhood organizations, because we're finding that neighborhoods that are most successful are those where there's a really strong presence of committed community that can keep their eye on things.
Interesting you said that on TV just the other day. Somebody was on that said, I don't like living here because, I think it was Los Angeles, they said there's no sense of neighborhood there. New York City has a sense of neighborhood. You're from Boston. You have a sense of neighborhood. You know, LA just sprawls and nobody's really connected with the neighborhood thought there. You know? I like that. Okay, this is one that sometimes people are saying, you're trying to take what I have away from me. This is land use, infrastructure, and transportation networks.
Right.
Again, you got 5 days on this one.
I think the one thing that's so important to highlight, and something that came out so strongly from the public, is the transportation and the importance of a really strong public transit network. People rely on the EMTA system, and they're looking for that service to get them to jobs and into education.
And I want to say people your age and Ben's age are doing this.
That's right.
My age, maybe not so much anymore, but you want this.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and you know, the senior issue, you're not to say that you're a senior, but when, we do have an aging population. And for folks to have that option to not drive, it's really important. And not just in the city, but throughout the county.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, I think you were going to say
something. I just think it's important. In the context of land use, one thing that Destination Erie is never striving to do is try to dictate one municipality's agenda of how they should zone or anything. It's simply trying to help shape the conversation of the future of their areas or their municipalities, so that when they do have development and growth, they do it in a manner that is cost effective to not only the municipality and the taxpayers, but the developers themselves who are looking at a long-term investment in their communities. So.
Over and over again, I keep seeing major communities looking to expand high-speed rail, for example. In California, Jerry Brown wants to have that 26 quadrillion train that runs between Los Angeles and San Francisco, and I think you're looking for that. You know, we're not looking to drive, as I mentioned before we went on the air, going to visit our daughter in New Jersey, and getting on I-95 and 5 lanes, and boom, just come to a stop, just stop. And moving on, this one, very important to everybody, is the environment. And that has got such a cachet for the last 15 or 18, 20 years. Part of that, of course, is measured by the fracking that's going on in the state of Pennsylvania and other states. But I think before you answer this, I think it's important you know that you're trying to take this abstraction about how do we get better and start defining it and putting it in terms. And that's what they're doing right here. They're putting this into terms that are graspable, they are tangible. You can say we can do this, or this isn't going to work. So environment. Your turn for environment.
So for us to succeed, I think from an economic standpoint and also in terms of attracting tourism and from quality of life, it's really important that we preserve the incredible environmental resources we have. So there are a number of recommendations in that section that speak to that. For example, there's been some conversation lately about creating a national marine sanctuary here in Lake Erie. So that's one idea that's generated a lot of interest because it will use that resource that is the lake as an educational tool, as a tool to attract tourists and build the economy around it. So that's one idea. The other is well, there are several, but one other I'll just call out specifically is what we're calling a renewable energy accelerator. Okay. So some kind of partnership between businesses, not-for-profit organizations to support the establishment of businesses that are working on renewable energy projects. This is a growing sector.
Fair to say then that this is a public-private enterprise, and maybe it's going to end up being more private than public, because there are some areas here that the public is not going to really do well at. The private will just eclipse everything. Yeah,
the overarching theme of this entire destination area process has been collaboration between public, private, not-for-profit, for-profit. For any of the recommendations in here to succeed, they've got to be built upon that base of collaboration.
Nice, nice. This one is something that all can relate to, and that's the arts, culture, and recreation, because I think considering the size of the area in which we live in, and I don't think we just consider this to be Erie, it could be Erie, Crawford, Warren, Ashtabula, Chautauqua counties. There's 5 counties at least, maybe more. We are the hub here, whether people can argue that or not. I think it is true. This is where people come to hear the Philharmonic, come to see the Playhouse, come to the zoo. So arts, culture, and recreation, Benjamin?
You know, we, with a 3-year planning process, you get to the opportunity of adapting to changes that take place even during the planning process. And in that 3 years, we've had the great fortune of having Erie Arts and Culture come into our community and help support the existing great cultural amenities that our community has to offer. And some of the planning efforts that have already taken place have really jumped out as critical for moving forward our arts and cultural agenda, and making a firm connection between the arts and cultural community with our tourism is come up as a pretty important project, and making sure that when tourists come to our community, they know what kind of arts and cultural amenities that are available and ways to really expand and explore our community as a whole that we're proud of.
I think it's extremely important to people in your age, your demographic, that this is going on. Is that fair to say that friends of yours find this particular item, arts, culture, recreation, important? Especially the recreation, because the people are so health conscious. Let me raise the theoretical question. I'll bet you never smoked.
No.
I bet you never smoked.
No.
Okay, I'd win that bet, right? Neither one of you have never smoked, right? And of course, I did. I smoked since I was 13, and I quit a long, long time ago. But that's just not even on your radar, smoking. You know, so this enters into your whole idea of a healthy, well-being, healthy body. Well-being is very important to you.
It's true. You know, and forgive me, I've smoked. I mean, I've experienced.
Oh well, there you go. The bet's off.
But I'll tell you, you know, wellness is a very important to our community, and it's actually something that our college and university presidents and other community partners at LECOM have articulated as very important to their students, is looking at this wellness component to encourage them to get more involved in our community.
Which is the next topic, community health. You know, I mean, we're all worried about that.
Yeah.
We're taping this, it's the flu season, and it can go into worse than that. It can go into pneumonia, or it can go into damaging effects, and we just need to take better care of ourselves. We need to eat better, we need to exercise, and so community health, who's got that one? It's a toss-up.
I'll
you
take
win?
It.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think what's important to note about community health is that it ties in so many of the other areas that we're talking about. So when you think about exercise, a lot of people through this process have talked about the importance of trails. You know, it's just something as simple as wanting to go outside and take a walk. You can only do that if you've got a place to go.
And you have a place to go in Millcreek, because you have the Osprey Barn, the trails there.
Yes, what a fabulous resource. Yeah.
And that's 24/7.
That's right. There are other communities, though, within the county where people do not feel that they've got access to do that. So that's critical. you think about access to of healthy and fresh foods. We have a number of what are called food deserts here in Erie County.
Recently in the news.
Yes, yes. So the recommendations include steps to make sure that we have markets that are available in all neighborhoods where people can purchase.
I find that incredible, a food desert. How can you possibly have a food desert when you have a community of 280,000 people in Erie County and you have pockets where the access to fresh food is, give me a kind word to say, not available readily.
Limited.
Yeah.
Limited, yeah. I find that difficult to understand that. And then I think it maybe is because of your efforts that this is being brought to light, because people are going, well, I didn't know that. So do you find, before we get to the last one, do you find that you're discovering things that people go, yeah, I've been wondering about that, you know? Did your research say, let's qualify it and quantify it and say, you're right, Phil.
Yes.
You're right.
Absolutely. It's putting the data behind what people have already feeling. It's helping to align many of the efforts that are already going on. And that's part of this process. You know, the recommendations that are in here, many organizations are already working on some of these things, but what we're trying to do is build on those and expand them where necessary and make sure that the county as a whole is kind of pointed together in the right direction to achieve these things.
Great. Here's the last one, regional collaboration and leadership. So both of you, one of you, it doesn't matter with me. Ben?
Well, I think one thing this process has lent itself was the exposure of how many great efforts were going on in the community before we even knew it. And this process helped force our hand in communicating with one another to evaluate what's going on and what's working. And a lot of things were working. We just didn't know that so many people were doing it. And so we learned that I think collaboration is going to be key to moving any of these projects forward. And I think that the willingness to collaborate is much more prevalent now than it was even just at the start of this process. It's great.
They have done so well elaborating on these points, and again, I would say to you that there is an explanation that goes beyond their explanation in this. You can download this at, again?
PlanErieRegion.com.
PlanErieRegion.com. Okay, is there a phone number they can reach you and say, hi, Anna?
Sure, 454-7191, extension 143.
And do you have an office where people can actually walk up to it and say, I'd like to help you?
The phone call would be best, that we can make sure that I'm there, but I'm currently working out of the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership office at 208 East Bayfront Parkway.
Okay, right down there across from the library.
That's right.
That's right, the Intermodal Transportation Building.
Okay. All right, so they've taken all this information, which is scattered to the four winds, and they've kind of shaped it like this table here, okay? And we have this big round table in front of us now. So we're going to slice off a little pie here and slice off a little pie here, but what are we going to do? We have all of this and we're going, God, what are we going to do with it now? What are we doing with it?
So the final plan will be released in the next month or so.
Okay.
Wrap up the planning process and move on to implementation. And part of the final plan, and this was not released back in November, but will be incorporated in the final document, is more detail regarding each one of the 35 or so recommendations. So specifically identifying the key stakeholders that will be necessary for each one of those 35 recommendations to move forward. Some sense of time frame, whether these are things that we should be trying to achieve right off the bat, or if these are things that we need to build toward over the course of the next 10 or 20 years or so. Estimated cost. Some way, how do we know that we're achieving success? So some sort of metric or something to make sure that we can track our progress.
Measurement stick, sure.
Right. So all of that will be incorporated into the final document. And then we're going to be working with the consortium, and we should have said right off the bat that this whole process has been guided by a consortium of over 70 organizations from throughout Erie County and beyond. So working with that consortium, expanding it hopefully, and again, and as you just described, identifying which organizations, which collaborations need to really get moving to achieve these specific initiatives.
Ben, you can add to that, I'm sure.
Oh, it's just
you guys don't really need me here.
narrowing down the projects. I think it's important to know that we're going to have approximately 40 projects that may be highlighted as with a little bit more emphasis on how we do the implementation strategy, but there are going to be an appendix with an additional 80 projects that have come out through the public and through the process of community outreach that are just as important. It's more, we rated these projects in terms of impact, and so it's going to be reevaluating all the projects as we continue to go forward, and making sure that the open communication and dialogue between the public and the collaborating organizations continues to exist, and measuring that impact for its full value.
Yeah, I'm just writing here what you said. You're going to reevaluate the projects, because my thought as you're saying this is, this table's too big.
Yeah.
It's unmanageable. I can't possibly. This is like maybe the old saying, how do you eat the elephant?
One bite
at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So will there be some projects that perhaps will be shelved for a little bit because they aren't commanding the attention right now?
Exactly.
Okay. And are you ready for that sort of introspection on that, saying, ah, man, I worked my butt off on this one, and you're going to take it away? Who's going to call the shots, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that there are some initiatives, some recommendations that are rising to the top, that there are organizations are really chomping at the bit to get going on things, or that already really are moving on things, and they just need a little bit of support to achieve those. As I mentioned, the consortium, I think we're envisioning that consortium will stay in place and help to guide those decisions and to continue to prioritize projects where we can know, really where the community wants to throw their weight behind and say, we need to make this happen right now for our success.
Let's go to you people, because you're going to inherit this. I'm just a steward holding on to it till you come up and you're already here and you're going to start taking care of it. And that's the way it is with I think, all peoples. And just from your own personal perspective, you don't have to get too personal here. What do you want to see happen? First, second, third, fifth, ninth? What do you want to see go? What's important to your age group? Not you specifically, your age group, the people that are your buddies, the people that you text, the people that you Instagram, the people that you selfie, Facebook.
Yes.
Facebook.
For me personally, I think a commitment from our local leaders. I think this is a great process to help educate not only the elected officials but the private sector leadership to evaluate what the public really needs. And I think a commitment from those individuals and moving this forward is something that I would love to just see come out of this process. And not only that, I think there are some very specific problems that can be addressed, like public transit, like some housing concerns that have been brought up, that immediate action and awareness to those issues will have a dramatic impact on the quality of life of many people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like very often there's a lack of the optimism that I think the younger generation wants to see in our future here in Erie County. And I think what I would like to come out of this is a renewed sense of optimism, that we have a really amazing place here. There's so much going on, that this is a dynamic, creative, beautiful, and energizing place to be. And I'd like that to be there'd like to be more emphasis on that.
Well said. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you say that, because for so long, and I know people can identify with, I had a call, my uncle passed away recently, and I had to call his brother out there in Denver, and he's in his 90s. But first thing out of his mouth is, well, how are things in dreary Erie? And I said, no, it's not dreary Erie. Don't say that. And you heard the mistake on the lake, you want to tell people, it snows in Chicago too, and it's cold in Chicago. It's cold in Boston, It's cold. If it's cold, go skiing, walk outside, do things. Does your generation moving, and as you said, is your generation saying, look, let's take advantage of what we have. Let's bust out of here and let's do the good things. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we're in good hands.
And I think also our generation is looking at places like Erie, and you mentioned Boston. Boston's great. Boston is also extraordinarily expensive.
Very.
And there's a movement now to move to communities that have a great quality of life and also an affordable quality of life. And I think Erie is one of those places.
We have 5 colleges really in the region. Yes. And I know that people who retire like to go to move next to college campuses. You get all of these advantages. Yeah. Okay, let's take the climate. We're taping today and it's less than balmy outside. When this airs, it'll be probably 75, sunshine, no humidity. But does the climate in your discussions with people, did that enter into saying, okay, look, we got to face it that it snows here and it's cold here? Did that enter into anybody's input into you?
You know, the people that I run circles with, we appreciate the 4 seasons, and I think I hear more people saying, you know, I'm here because I like 4 seasons. Yeah. I'm here because I'm here to get the environmental exposure of the 4 seasons and to live in a community that really embraces who they are. And I think there's a very big tide turning in that direction.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I think that's so important. Yeah, it's the old cliched, hackneyed, overworked. You know, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. You know. Okay, Anna Franz and Ben Pratt from Destination Erie. You want to get involved? Anna, tell them again, how can they call you? Yes. You can find it on the web. They can come and visit you.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Check out the website at www.planerieregion.com. They can
Plan Erie Region.
That's correct.
All one word.
All one word. Yep. They can give me a call. My phone number is right there on the website, but it's 454-7191, extension 143.
Okay.
Those are the 2 best ways to reach out.
All right. Again, this is Destination Erie, and let's see, we're going to let the lady go last. Ben, you get a minute. You get a minute.
Okay.
Sum up what we just said in 27 minutes in 1 minute.
Sure. We've worked 3 years on trying to map out the next 25 years, the future of our community, and we couldn't have done it without the public support, and it's truly an opportunity that we've been given to let the public's voice be heard and really have an impact on the critical elements that make up our community.
Good job. Well done. Anna?
I don't know if I can top
last
that.
word.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a community-driven effort from the start. That's fully reflected in the recommendations that are coming out of this process. The success of the plan really relies on the community to move these things forward, and we're looking forward to kicking off implementation efforts in the next couple of months.
I am too.
Great.
Thanks for giving your time.
Thank you so much for the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, my pleasure. And thank you for being here, because without you, this doesn't happen. Destination Erie is going to be a part of us for the next generation plus. Join us. Help make Erie and the surrounding areas a great place to live. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Phil Fatica. Until next time, take care.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.